if everything is a frequency, really everything around us has a frequency, then the subconscious mind will say, okay, I have too much black energy, for example. So if I have too much black energy, then I need to offset it. I need to find the opposite of that. I need to bring in more white.
Why are we out of color? Why are we out of balance with certain colors?
If, for example, we are sitting at home all day, maybe next to the computer, and not been outside for a long time, for example, then we can say that we are missing the frequency, the green frequency, for example, of nature. So the invitation really is to, you can wear green or you can eat green things. For sure, that would help. But going into nature would definitely raise the frequency and get you back into balance.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Ask Julie Ryan Show. It's where we blend spirituality and practicality to help you live a life of purpose and joy. We have Einav Avni with us on the show today. Einav's an energy healer, author, and alignment coach who helps those struggling with chronic conditions and or feeling stuck in life. It's going to be fun to explore how Einav helps her clients, the techniques she uses, and the journey that led to her profound work. Please remember to subscribe, leave a comment, and share this episode with your family and friends. Now let's go chat with Einav. Einav, welcome to the show. I'm so delighted that you could join us today.
Thank you. I'm really happy to be here. Thank you.
All the way from England. So it's noon here in Sweet Home, Alabama. So it's what, like 6 there? 6 p.m.?
7, yes.
7. Okay. Let's just get right into it. What are the emotion, body, and belief codes?
Right. Yes, let's delve straight into that. Yes, absolutely. So the emotion code and the body code, and later the belief code as well. Energy healing modalities that were invented by Dr. Bradley Nelson. The belief code is actually based on work of someone else, but he definitely adapted it to be used as part of the codes that he created. The idea behind the emotion code and the body code is really that because we are all energy beings, when we go through emotional events and trauma that we can't process, the energy of the emotions become trapped in our energy field. So really, everything that we are experiencing, because we are energy, is because it's, I should say, everything negative that we experience, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, is basically caused because of these blockages in our energy field. So with the emotion code, I connect with your subconscious mind, and I work with a list of 60 emotions, and your subconscious mind, because it knows what brought you to whatever situation you are here today, it also knows how to reverse it. So basically, it will flag up which emotion needs to be cleared. Sometimes there's some more information that is needed, so we collect that as well, and then I release it, and then I move on to the next emotion, and so on and so on. So it's fascinating and it's very profound. And when I find an emotion, I say, for example, oh, it's anger from age 6, and people immediately know what the event was, and it's really interesting. Um, and then when I release it, people feel calmer. They feel more like they feel that there's more space, where before it was all maybe more stress. Definitely after the session, they say that they feel calmer and more light because like we're really breaking the wall. But they also say that life's still happening exactly the same way, but they don't feel about it in the same way. So it's really a wonderful thing to be using. The body code is very similar. I will connect with your subconscious mind, and your subconscious mind will guide me which toxins or pathogens or misalignments to correct. Also, there is something there that is all about clashes that the subconscious mind have with the conscious mind, and of course, the subconscious mind is so much stronger that it's very easy to get skewed in this way. And the belief code is all about finding and releasing whole belief systems that are holding us back. So anything we can release. I mean, we have limiting beliefs about nearly everything. So whatever the challenge is, there is probably a belief system, a faulty belief system out there that we can release. In a nutshell.
Okay, that's a lot to unpack. I've got about 50 bazillion questions for you on that. First of all, how do you release? How do you get them to release? What's the technique?
Yeah, yeah. So basically, what you will see me do is, first of all, you will see me move my hand above my governing meridian, and then I actually set the intention, telling the subconscious mind what to do: release this emotion, reset this misalignment, correct this misalignment, all of these things. And when I do that and I set the intention, this is how I release everything from my side. And later on, I ask people to drink as much water as possible so that they can flush everything out of their systems. So it's this is kind of how it happens.
So I'm assuming it's your spirit connecting into their spirit, and your spirit is suggesting to them, let's release this emotion that's been stored. Why does their spirit follow what you tell it to do?
It's really because we are all connected. And when I set the intention to help you do something that you consciously you can't do it by yourself. So I become the translator between your conscious mind and your subconscious mind. And because your subconscious mind knows that I'm here to help and not harm, and of course I only do it with permission, then it accepts what I'm suggesting. Now I'm definitely only ever suggesting positive things to improve and um, to set things free. But your subconscious mind allows it. If it wasn't in alignment, it wouldn't let me do it.
Okay. Can you explain for those of us, myself included, that aren't really clear about the conscious versus the subconscious? Conscious, I understand. I'm aware of what my thoughts are. Subconscious is, to me, like a background tape that's playing with beliefs and ideas and thoughts and things like that, that perhaps I'm unaware of it playing in the background, but it's more powerful than the conscious mind, is what I'm hearing you say.
Yes, exactly.
Can you explain the difference between the 2, and then what are their roles and which one's more powerful? You said earlier that we can't release things subconsciously ourselves.
Well, what I meant to say is that, I mean, we don't, in the normal day-to-day operations, we're not aware of everything that is running in the background. And so I might say, oh, I have this emotion of anger from when I'm 6, and I can say, I'm releasing it. I am no longer having it, or whatever it is that I'm trying to say. Unless I'm going through this, whole thing, people can release things from themselves, absolutely. But in this way, I mean, I use muscle testing to find out what it is that I need to release. And so if people did it for themselves, they can do it no problem at all. But normal operation of stuff, we might be aware of emotions that are trapped in our body, but we don't have a way to say you out,
Yeah.
basically.
Or
um,
identify which ones they are without some kind of knowledge beforehand.
exactly. This method is very profound, and it's very interesting. Like I said earlier, when we identify an emotion, we immediately know what the event was, and we know how, yeah, yes, makes sense that it's this emotion that has become trapped. But I want to say that when I work with people, I explain actually that there's 3 different things. So there's the unconscious mind, which is like our soul, and it really knows everything about us. It knows where we've been, it knows where we're going throughout lives and lives and all of that. So the unconscious mind is like the deepest thing. And then we have the subconscious mind, which is still very deep, still knows everything about us, but it also needs command from our conscious mind to know what to do. So sometimes what the subconscious mind, because the subconscious mind has one role, which is to protect us. And it can happen that at some point, a part of the subconscious mind believes that the overall operation is not going in the right direction, then we might end up with groupings of some subconscious mind. So it can be that a part of the subconscious mind that created its own kingdom is now believing that one thing is right versus everything else that is wrong. So in one of the things in the body code, for example, there is something called no will to, and we have the opposite, which is will to. And this is a wonderful example where the conscious mind and the subconscious mind clash. So there is something there that says no will to be healthy, for example. And everyone is like, whoa, of course I want to be healthy. And this is exactly the point, because consciously, of course, we want to be healthy. But if part of the subconscious mind believe that being healthy is not going to get you what you need or where you need to be, it is going to create this blockage, basically. So with no will to be healthy, one way that I explain this, like a possibility, people can accept it or not, is that if you are young and you're not getting very much attention or love from your parents, for example, but when you are ill, you get all of the attention. So the subconscious mind, right, we need to do more of that. So now we create a no will to be healthy. But there is a clash, because consciously we do want to be healthy. So it's kind of complicated or complex, I should say. But the conscious mind, like you say, is what we have in the conscious awareness, what we are aware of. And then our awareness is feeding the subconscious. So that's what we are saying, that the subconscious is really subjective, because it needs to be subjected to a command in order to know what to do. Unfortunately, most of the time we run on a negative subconscious command. So we keep repeating things to ourselves like, I'm too old, or I'm too ill, or I'm not feeling well, or whatever it is that we're saying to ourselves. So the subconscious mind receives this as a command. Say, okay, I can do I'm too old, or I can do I'm not well. And basically, this is what's running the show. So very interesting.
It is really fascinating, which is why I wanted to have you on to explore this further. So you're doing really well with this, because you're being as fascinating as I knew you would be. Back to the subconscious mind and the unconscious mind. This is just kind of coming into my head out of the blue. So see if this makes sense to you. Is the subconscious mind perhaps the equivalent of a child that's 10 or 12 running things, and the unconscious mind is even a smaller child, and then the conscious mind is the adult part of us? Does that make sense?
I could see that making sense. Yes, I mean, yes. When I was learning about the unconscious mind and all of that, that was part of the NLP training. They would say that the unconscious, is the unconscious mind or subconscious mind. One of them was about 5. Um, yes, but unconscious mind is of course vast, and it's basically they're saying that everything in our conscious awareness maybe makes up to 5% of everything, that all of the brain power that we have goes into the 5% of the conscious mind, and 95% goes into the unconscious mind. So there's definitely a lot of operations that we are not aware of at all.
That's a big statement.
Yes.
Only 5%. That's a little frightening. Actually, only 5% of our brain's operating as an adult, and the rest of it's operating as a 12-year-old. And 12-year-olds are opinionated, and they know enough to know that they've got a sense of what's happening, but it's skewed because they don't have the maturity or the life events, I would think, to really come up with something rational.
But I think really, again, in the work that I do with people, I usually refer to the unconscious mind versus the conscious mind. But of course, sometimes I do find myself use the term subconscious mind, just to confuse everything and everyone. But really, I believe that a lot of the time, really, what is calling the shots is a 5-year-old, or someone that is so young that doesn't really understand the connection between events and how they feel, but they know that they are hurting, and they're trying to create a coping mechanism, basically. So what happens later on in life is that we are still operating by this, the coping mechanism created by this 5-year-old, but we don't know why we do this. So we say, oh, why am I like this? Because as a coping mechanism that was created such a long time ago, and you never question it. And maybe now it's time to.
Do some of those beliefs, I would think most of them come from others, even that others are suggesting. My Mima, who was 100 almost when she died, still to this day, I'm in my mid 60s. I'm outside. It's a windy day. I can hear her in my head saying, "Oh, you better put a hat or a scarf on because you're going to catch cold because it's windy." And I'm thinking, yeah, well, wind doesn't give you a cold. When viruses are cold, that's what causes cold. But to this day, all those years later, 60 years later, I can hear her. She's been dead 25 years, and I can hear her in my head saying that. Is that common, though, that you find that a lot of these unconscious and subconscious thoughts come from others' fears about
Absolutely.
things? Yeah.
Absolutely. Because everything has to start somewhere. Now, imagine that, all of these things, right? When you are very small and you are all of the conditionings of your parents and your community and all of that. So if they, if they are full of fear, then this fear is going to pass on to you. And you're not even going to know why you're feeling the way that you are, but
Yeah.
it's there.
Yeah.
So this is part of it. In the emotion code, and also in the body code, and also in the belief code, I should say, we find we can differentiate where emotions and stuff can come from. So sometimes it's ancestral, so really come down in the lineage, and sometimes we go back, 20 generations, even more, and you can just imagine how deep this emotion was there when it first started. All those years later, now you're still carrying it around. But so there's one way that it's coming from ancestral, and sometimes it can also come from past lives. So a lot of the stuff that we are carrying around with us is not something original that we created, but something that we received either in the moment of conception or through observing other people, or yeah, in this way.
That's a whole nother rabbit hole that I want to go down here in a minute. First, do we only store negative emotion? Do we store positive emotion as well? Or is it only negative?
No, we absolutely we store all of them, but we want to, of course, we want to keep the positive ones. There is one emotion, for example, that is called overjoy. That is the only one that is potentially positive. But the reason why it's counted as negative emotion is because it's basically getting your body to be out of balance. If you think about, a 3-year-old when he's so excited and you know that it's going to end in tears, right? So this is the overjoy kind of thing. So everything that is out, getting the body out of balance, is in a sense negative. Um, but the positive emotions, we're happy with them. They're fine. We don't need to find them, basically.
They don't cause blocks. You don't have like blocks of happiness.
Yes, I mean, yes, we
That
know
sounds
where.
like it'd probably be pretty good. You're blocked from anything that feels negative. Although we need to have the negative in order to realize when we're, out of alignment with our energy. How do you muscle test somebody that's remote from you? How do you do that on Zoom or on a
I don't even
call?
need to be with the person with me on Zoom. I can just, as long as I have permission, and I can be a person or an animal, um, then I connect, because we are all connected anyway. But when I set the intention to connect with you, for example, and then I muscle test to make sure that we are connected, at that moment I'm not me anymore. I'm basically you, and so everything that comes through is not mine, is yours. And my own subconscious mind is clearing the way for me to be able to, you know, to do what I need to do. Now I'm not rummaging around or anything like that. I'm not doing anything that is, untoward. But because your subconscious mind knows that I'm here to help and translate things that you, like we said earlier, can't do by yourself, it allows me. And that is why I'm saying very importantly that I have to get your permission, and I wouldn't do it without permission. Um, and what I do is I connect with you, and then I muscle test to see if am I me or am I you. sometimes if something comes up and I'm thinking that is, something is not exactly right in maybe it's about what we're working on, or something all of a sudden I feel that is not right, then I will ask myself, am I finding me or am I finding you? I don't usually find me, but it's a good reminder that the subconscious mind really knows everything about all of us, about each of us, and it knows. So sometimes someone might come to me and say, I've got the problem, maybe I've got headaches, for example, and we start the session and it's all about, I don't know, the toes, and they might say, well, how come it's so random and so indirect? What is going on? And I know that the subconscious mind, because it has two jobs. First of all, to protect us. The other thing is to heal us, to heal our bodies. So if I say, okay, I want to work on finding the root cause or the underlying cause of the headaches, but I'm being directed to something completely random, I know that the subconscious mind is saying, look, I get that you want to work on the headaches, but this layer of blocked energy is killing me basically. So if you can release this first, then I will direct you to where you need to be. But this is the one I really need you to look at. And I always say we have to trust what the subconscious mind is guiding us, because you don't know, and definitely I don't. So but the subconscious mind does. And so we will go through whatever layer, and then we will, either in that session, sometimes it will take the next session when we will find things and say, oh, that makes so much sense. But when we release things, then the subconscious mind is basically saying, now I can go back to doing my job, which is to heal the body.
This is some profound stuff you're laying out here, girl. I'm tracking you. I'm sure others that are listening and watching are as well. So you connect into somebody. Tell us how you connect into somebody. How do you do that?
I take a moment. I always take a moment and I thank whoever needs to be thanked, and for allowing me to be doing these things and to connect with you, with the person that is sitting either in front of me, or, like I said, I can do it remotely as well. And then I basically, I'm coming in with gratitude and the promise that I'm going to only be doing the good things, basically in the greater good of the person. And then I check muscle test. Are we connected?
Do
If we
you
are,
do
wonderful.
you feel something when you know you're connected with somebody? Do you watch something happen? Do you just set the intention, I'm gonna connect, and then you feel like you're connected, or you're connected and then you muscle test? How does that work?
I do. I know that I'm connected. It's like a knowing, and then I muscle testing to make sure that I am.
How do you muscle test?
Muscle testing. I use this method of ring and ring, and
Ring
and
and ring.
basically
So for those of you listening, she's got her thumb and her forefinger together, intertwined, kind of in a lock, like two, I don't know what you call it,
like
2
two
links,
okay signs
2
that
links.
yeah.
And what happens for those who aren't familiar with muscle testing? What happens when you do that?
So our subconscious mind, and people can really test it by themselves. We tend to go one way when we are responding to something that is true or positive or pleasant, and we go the other way when we are responding to something that is a lie, something that is unpleasant, something that is, yes, not nice. So basically, the muscle testing, in whichever way you choose to do it, because there's quite a few of them, will respond in the same way. So for me, if I say my name is Einav, I said it before. I say it in my mind before I say it out loud. If I say my name is Einav, I can't open it, right? But if I say my name is Charlie, it's not me. This is no problem. So this is how it goes. So when I work with someone with any of these codes, I connect with the person, and then I say, what is, my name is my name Inav, or is my name Julie, I will, whoever is there, and I will get the right response. And then I go through all of the information is on an app, and I say, right, where do I go? Right, left, and I find everything, and then I make a note of everything that I find. It depends which of the code it is. Some of them work slightly differently, but I write everything down, then I release everything, and then I move on to the next thing that needs to be found.
Do you have a list of emotions that you go down the same list with everybody? Or are you inspired with, I'm working with Susie today, and here are the emotions we need to work on? Or has Susie given you up front what she wants to work on?
No, no. With the emotion code, it's a list of 60 emotions. And of course, we have more than 60 emotions that we can experience. But what Dr. Bradley Nelson and his team, what they've done, they looked at all of the emotions and they combined together emotions that have similar characteristics. So, for example, we have anger, but we don't have rage, or we don't have intense annoyance, or something like that. So, the subconscious mind can say, okay, it wasn't anger, it was intense annoyance, but for all purposes, that's good enough for us, and I'm going to flag that. And really, people are okay with that. Sometimes the one emotion that people usually raise the is hatred. They're like, no, that's too strong. Same thing. I mean, maybe you didn't feel hatred, but you felt really, intense frustration. And the subconscious mind knows that you know, it's good enough for the subconscious mind because it knows that we are going to release it, and that's the most important thing. The other important thing that I should probably mention is that because we always trust the subconscious mind, it really does know to guide us to exactly the right thing. Sometimes it can point you to things that you think doesn't make sense. It's surely you're working with someone else completely. And I had it with this one woman. It was quite comical, really, because one of the things that can come up as something to fix or release. I should say that sometimes I can do most of the things, and sometimes I say, well, this is homework. This is for you to do at home. So one of these things is color deficiency or color excess. So either you don't have enough of one color, or you have too much of a certain color. And because every color has a vibrational frequency, it makes sense. And she was adamant that I got it wrong, and I was like, I didn't make it up, right? I'm muscle testing it, and it comes up as that. And it was only later on that I realized that actually what I should have explained to her, that sometimes these energies, they're not just from this lifetime. And even if something feels like it doesn't make sense to us right now, it does make sense to the subconscious mind in a bigger sense that we might not even understand. Like another example is I found this one emotion from one of my clients, and I muscle tested to see the age, and he was 68. He was 68. I was like, hang on, you're only 65. And I was like, he caught me, and I was like, okay, so let me try again. Did I get it wrong? And I didn't get it wrong. And I was like, okay, how, is it a past life? And then it came as a yes. Like, okay, how many? I think it was 11 lifetimes ago. And then that's okay. Then I can release it. And the subconscious mind says, right now it's out of my energy field, and we are good to continue. So some comical moments
Oh, yeah.
as well.
Spirit's hilarious. I I find that all the time. They just crack me up. Not all the time, but they are funny at times. Sounds to me, though, that when you're connected with a client, you're still conscious, and at the same time, your spirit is connected with their spirit, and it's your subconscious. Is it sub or unconscious? Could be either. Could be a combo platter of the 2. Okay, so your spirit is connected with their spirit and is conversing, but you're still aware of what's going on because you mentioned earlier that you're taking notes on things and you're muscle testing. So it's not like you go into a trance
No, no, no,
and
no,
you're
no trance.
and you're
I'm absolutely aware of who I am, and my subconscious mind knows that for now, I am just not talking with me. I'm talking with someone else's subconscious mind, and uh, and yeah. And so people are also, of course, invited to ask questions, and we can have a conversation and a laugh. It's not a problem. It's not a problem at all. And when this session finishes, then my subconscious mind always knows to come back to being me. So
Perfect. So it's a good thing you're a girl because you're able to multitask. Because your conscious mind's working and your subconscious and your unconscious mind's working with this other person's subconscious and unconscious minds. Okay, I'm being funny here. Color excess, is that with regard to the chakra colors? in the body? What's with the color excess or the color
Deficiency.
deficiency?
Yeah.
What's
So
that all about?
like I say, every color has a vibrational frequency, and because the subconscious mind is always looking for the balance, it might say, oh, you have too much, say white, and then you know that the homework really is to go home and to bring in more white color, maybe eating white stuff, maybe wearing white stuff, maybe just standing next to white walls. And yeah, sometimes people don't, they say, oh, it doesn't make sense because my house is completely white, for example. But if this is what the subconscious mind flagged, then this is what we suggest. um, Color deficiency, for example, if we have a color deficiency of green or white, sorry, not white, blue or yellow, maybe it's about going outside into nature. Maybe it's about being in the blue sky. There's different things, but basically, what we're saying is that the subconscious mind knows exactly what brought you to where you are right now, and it really is fascinating. I used to have a rubber band ball, and I used to say, this is basically what we're doing. Because if I say, okay, what is the underlying cause of my headaches again, for example, and the subconscious mind says, okay, calculating, here's this rubber band ball, and now we are literally finding and releasing things from so many different things and possibilities. Consciously, we would have no idea that all of this is making this problem. But the subconscious mind, it really does know everything. So fascinating is the only word.
It's reminding me of, I think in my 20s, so this would have been in the 80s, 1980s, they had this color wheel thing. And if you were blonde with green eyes, which I am, okay, you're supposed to wear greens and yellows and stuff like that. And then people with dark hair and dark eyes are supposed to wear blues and purples. And I mean, there was a whole movement about that. It was, you're an autumn or you're a spring or you're a summer or whatever. And it's reminding me of that. The other thing is, what are, and I think all of us can relate with certain colors that we wear, that we feel better when we wear them. Is that relating to the color thing to which you're referring? And can you give us like 5 colors and what the emotions are that those colors signify?
No, it's not like that. It's really is. A lot of the time, I find that most of the most of the colors that we have some either deficiency or excess in is black and white. Now, I won't be able to explain it so well, but I know that if everything is a frequency, really everything around us has a frequency, then the subconscious mind will say, okay, I have too much of this, too much black energy, for example. So if I have too much black energy, then I need to offset it. I need to find the opposite of that. I need to bring in more white. Um, Same thing with deficiency. If I don't have enough black, then I need to have more black. So it's all about this balance that the body is creating. So when I talk about the colors deficiency or whatever, it's not about the emotions that are connected to that. It really is about, in the overall scheme of frequency, numbers, and balances, we're out of balance because of that specific color that either we have too much of or too little of.
Why are we out of color? Why are we out of balance with certain colors?
So if, for example, we are sitting at home all day, maybe next to the computer, and not been outside for a long time, for example, then we can say that we are missing the frequency, the green frequency, for example, of nature. So the invitation really is to, yeah, you can wear green or you can eat green things. For sure, that would help. But going into nature would definitely raise the frequency and get you back into balance.
I'm with you. All right. Thanks for clarifying that. My brain was a little confused on that. Is there always an emotional component in place before any kind of medical condition arises? Has that been your experience?
The way that I work with people, the way that, because the emotion code, body code, and belief code, they're just a part of what I do. What I I really like to do with people is the part of the alignment coaching. And in the alignment coaching is really about looking at what is going on um, in the body. What is the message? What is something? Where are you operating too much from fears and limitations and compromises that you forgot who you are and what you came here to do? So I like to really look at people, with people, look at their lives and see where did you forget yourself? Where did you forget what really is meaningful for you? And now you believe that the only way forward is stress or unhappiness or feeling stuck. So there's always emotions there for sure. And in my work, I mean, I started when I started my coaching. I was um, how far back actually I should go with this with this answer. Uh, when I did my coaching training and NLP training, our teachers demonstrated the mind body connection. They used one of my peers, and she had neck pain, chronic neck pain for about 14 years. I think it was like level 7, and it wasn't going away. And in just 2 hours, just by asking her about emotions back then, emotions right now, going back and forward like this, back and forth, the neck pain disappeared, like gone completely, never to be returned. And for me, it was like, oh my goodness, like really, we have to talk about this thing. This is incredible. And so yeah, somehow it really resonated with, I guess, with me, with my soul path. When I finished my training, I wanted to go and talk to people about it. I was like, I want to do this with people. But I went on some Facebook groups and I really managed to get some people really angry. A woman came by and said, "Well, I've been. It took me such a long time to convince my doctors and my family that I was ill, and here you are telling me that I can heal." I mean, she wasn't interested in that, and I understood that first of all, some people have their illnesses really as part of their identity levels, and I understood also that I wasn't ready. Not that I was rude or anything, but I wasn't ready to deal with this kind of emotions. So I moved away. I called myself a confidence and empowerment coach. And I was really talking about the negative self talk that is, you know, basically what brings all the fears about. And I've done that for a number of years until one day a client came with chronic condition. And at that time, I didn't have the energy healing part. And that just in conversations, we cleared his chronic condition completely. It didn't take one day. It was a process, but that's why today I'm thinking that the conversations can be even more important than the energy healing, because when people understand the message, understand what it is that they forgot, they can start bringing more of that into their lives. And this is miracles really happening when you either when you start listening to yourself or when you do this combination of the coaching and the healing.
I want to go take a couple steps back and go into the ancestral wounds that we bring forward and the past life wounds that we bring forward. What's your understanding of how that works? How do we bring forward emotional wounds from somebody 17 generations ago that we've never heard of? And how can that affect us? How does it transfer? I understand when we have all of our own past lives of the things that we've personally experienced, but where it gets super interesting to me, and I don't have a good understanding of it, is how does that transfer from our ancestors into our current lives? And when we heal ourselves, I've heard it heals future generations and it heals all those past generations too. So what's your understanding of that?
So really what we are saying is that when we have a very intense emotion that we don't process, it become, stuck in our energy field. And then if we haven't processed it, it basically passed down in the moment of conception together with other DNA, materials, and moves on to the next person. In the In the studies, actually, Dr. Bradley Nelson, he describes an experiment that they did on mice, um, which basically was that they, and I'm sorry, but it is animal testing here conversation, but they did subjected the mouse father to very unpleasant noise, and then when they made the same sound to its offsprings, they responded in exactly the same way, basically, of all the anxiety and fear and all of that. And then they did the same thing, but they um, made the sound to the father, and then took the mother somewhere else completely, and did the same thing, and they realized that yes, they didn't need to be in the same practical location to be feeling the same thing. So this is part of the testing that they did to see that all of these emotions and stress and stuff was being passed down in the moment of conception from throughout the generations.
So it's feasible that a grandmother who has 17 grandchildren, let's say 5 kids and 17 children, each one of those children of hers, those 5 children, and each one of those 17 grandchildrens are all gonna get part of that DNA that's gonna have that emotion code in the DNA.
Yeah, it's passed together with, yes, other DNA stuff, all of the trapped emotions and everything. It can. So what we do, say, sometimes people come for ancestral situations, so we would really see everything that we find, and it can be just emotions or it can be other things as well. But we would say, okay, where is it from? So what is the emotion and where is it from? And I would usually specify the first 4 generations back, and then I would count how many generations afterwards. So I would say, oh, this is from your dad, and he got it from his mom, and she got it from her mom, and she got it from her dad. And then if it's longer than just 4 generations, then I would say, okay, 5, 6. I would count how many generations, and then I saw 19 generations in total. Now, you must think of how intense was the original emotion to go down down this way. But it can be that it escapes some people in the lineage. We don't know. But when I clear it, like exactly like you said, I clear it from everyone, regardless if they're still alive or not, and I clear it also from future generations, because if I say I clear it from you, and you also pass it down to your daughter, for example, and that's it. So your daughter won't pass it over. So that's basically it finishes with her. Um, so yeah, when I do the swiping, I do more swiping, and I really include everyone, and I set this intention of setting everyone free from that emotion. Um, Dr. Bradley, he says, he likes to imagine that when you finally go up to heaven after you've cleared all of these ancestral emotions, everyone is going to meet you there with a big queue and a lot of clapping and say thank you for releasing all of this from us. And it is really, it's really profound.
Let's back up a few steps. Did you wake up one day and think, "I wanna help people clear their emotional blocks"? How did this all come about for you? How did you what did you do before this? Why were you interested in doing this? What tell us about your journey.
Yeah. When I came to coaching from IT, I was a user experience designer, working with people, designing websites and systems
Designing
that were
code, using code to design things, right?
different code, yes.
Different kind of
Uh,
code.
but I understood at some point that actually I wanted the connection with people was really where I wanted to be. And then I went to do my coaching training and my NLP training. And then I worked, like I said earlier, with a negative voice. I also worked with the unconscious mind, and this is the thing that I am really still connected to, because that's what I believe, that we have 2 voices. We have the unconscious mind that knows everything about us, and just basically just do it. I'm here. I created this opportunity for you. Please follow my guidance. And then we have a negative voice that said, you know, don't listen because I need to keep you in the comfort zone. So I all the time talk about these two voices. And as I was walking with the unconscious mind and everything, I happened to be watching a seminar with Dr. Bradley Nelson, and he said the subconscious mind knows everything about where you are today, and it knows how to reverse it. I was like, this is mine. This is my cue. I was waiting for that, and then I decided to set define the emotion code, and then the body code and the belief code followed very soon after.
Wow. When you clear an emotion, first of all, what does the person notice in a difference? Is it an immediate thing that they notice? Is it over time? How does that come in? And then secondly, do we need to continue to clear these subconscious emotions throughout our lives, or we go in and we clear the anger block and then it's just handled for the rest of our life, or do we have to come back in and have tune-ups periodically?
Right. So this really depends on the person and how sensitive they are. So some people, as I clear it, they feel tingling all over, or they really feel that something is leaving them. And especially with the really big emotions, they 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 say, "Oh, I felt it leaving," and that is awesome when that happens. Some people don't feel anything, and they're like, "Okay, I'm just watching you do all these funny things." But most people afterwards, like I said at the beginning, they will go home and maybe immediately, maybe after a couple of days, all of a sudden they will think, I'm noticing it. And some people are trying to bring it on, and it's you can't bring it on, right? It's something that just happens. So really, I ask people to, after the session, to drink a lot of water and tune into their energy, and really just basically just let things happen on their own accord, and then they notice that they feel lighter and calmer. Um, when we do the heart wall, this is, like I said before, is even more profound. It's like it's like i- time 10, I guess. And then you asked if people should come back and clear it. So with the heart wall, even if we clear the whole wall, and sometimes people might have 20 emotions making up the heart wall, and sometimes it's 250, right? It really depends on people's lives. But it can be that I cleared the whole wall, and then maybe 2 years later they come and there's a new wall. And that's because the subconscious mind will always do that thing of, I need to protect you. And the only way I can do it is by putting a wall around your heart. So it's, if you feel that you have a wall around your heart, come and have it cleared. And regardless if you've already done that before. And people say sometimes exactly that, do I, how long do I have to come here for? Now, of course, it depends what people come here for. If they're here for healing a specific thing, then we usually agree in advance how many sessions, or they can say, "Well, I'll kind of come as pay as you go type thing." But I always say that I've never connected with someone and say, "Actually, it's all good. There's nothing to clear." Never ever. So there's always things to clear, but. It's a nice thing to say, okay, maybe once, if you don't have any specific purpose for this healing or for the clearing, maybe once every a month, like the same way like you would a massage or something, right? Like make me feel a little bit better to know that I'm releasing all of this heaviness from me, kind of thing.
What do people notice in their daily lives? Do they notice just a plethora of good things that come into them, perhaps abundance, love relationships, better working situation, whatever? Or is it specific to whatever it was that relates to the emotion that you cleared?
So this is a very good question, and it definitely depends on the work that we're doing. So with the belief code, sometimes people can really notice that, if we work on maybe not feeling good enough, then they start feeling more, the old thing that were triggering them no longer happen in the same way. So this is really the when people give me feedback is the one that I like the most, when they say, all of a sudden I realized that, if this had happened 3 months ago, I would have reacted in a completely different way, and now I'm like, yeah, of course, it's really wonderful. But yeah, if you're working on money problems, then people will experience a different attitude or different responses or results with money or relationships or whatever it is that we are working on. There will be at the very least, there will be a lot of new conscious awareness on their part. Because when we work with the belief code, we are finding negative statements that are lodged in the subconscious mind or in the energy field from any time in their lives. Or sometimes, again, it can be inherited from parents and stuff. So it's the whole system that is blocking them in one way or another. So in the belief code, we find the negative statements, then we're finding the emotions that are related to that, and then we are finding other associated imbalance that are basically things that are tying us into the past. So, if I clear an emotion that a belief that I'm not good enough, but then I have deeper connection to the belief that I'm not good enough is two different things, even if it sounded the same. Then I won't be able to fully release it. So there's a whole script, I guess, that we need to follow in order to really clear all of this belief system of not good enough.
What do you say to the, I'm using air quotes, experts who say, and we've all heard this umpteen million times, our thoughts create our reality. So when we have an emotion, let's say anger, that comes up, we can change our thought and go to a different vibration. Is that legit in your mind, or do you have to go in and you have to clear the anger from the subconscious first before the thought can create the reality? What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's a little bit of both, really. I mean, because earlier we talked about the subconscious mind that is subjective. So if I constantly feed my subconscious mind with the same kind of scripts, same kind of words, same kind of thoughts, it will always do the same thing. So if I'm so angry, I'm so angry, so it will always do that. But if I say, actually, I don't want to be in this anger vibration anymore, and I can start saying to myself, oh, you know, this is interesting. For example, this will already raise my energy because I'm not going back to that very low energy of anger. So what I'm trying to say is that with changing how I speak to myself and changing what I'm choosing to focus on, I can actually slowly raise my energies. But it's also true that, yes, if we have an emotion, for example, of anger that is constantly playing out, then people will find it a little bit difficult to fully, change that. Because if you have an emotion of anger, it means that basically the next time that an emotional event is coming your way, this anger will be the default, basically. And when we clear this anger, then the next time when you have an emotional response, you can say to yourself, actually, maybe it's not anger anymore that I want to use. Maybe it's frustration. Or if it is anger, if anger is the appropriate emotion, then maybe it's less intense. So, well, of course, subconsciously, right? It's not conscious conversation. But yes, so I believe that there's a space for both of them, both of these things.
Is that what's happening when somebody can get triggered and get really angry and do things that they wouldn't normally do? Is that what is happening with somebody's subconscious coming in and prompting them to behave in a certain way that perhaps they wouldn't normally behave in, but we hear about people getting triggered. Is that what's going on?
If I was Dr. Bradley Nelson, I would probably say yes, like immediately, and I'm sure he's right. I'm sure there is in a lot of the cases. I'm sure that is true. Um, but also, I want to say that, of course, triggering is coming from other places as well, right? I mean, it's also about the fear that is coming up, or maybe it's a PTSD type situation. So it's very, we need to look at every case for itself. But definitely, I would, if someone said to me, "I'm feeling very angry," I would say, "Okay, let's find what anger is marinated in your system, basically."
You work with animals as well as humans. I would think there's going to be some differences there. Tell us how you approach working with animals. Do animals have lineage emotion like humans do in their DNA? Is like the lion's DNA going to be down in the tabby cat's DNA of today kind of a thing? And and how do you're communicating telepathically, obviously, with the animal, I would
Not
imagine.
not telepathically, but connecting to them in the same way that I connect to anything with a subconscious. I can potentially connect with.
Right. So how do you do that with animals, and how does it differ from the work you do with humans?
Not very much actually. The changes or the differences in the range of emotions, because animals have domesticated animals have much less, emotion range than we do. Of course, wild one will have even less. Um, but I connect with them. People send me a picture of the animal, tell me how old they are and the name. They give me permission to work with the animal. I connect with them in the same way I would a person. And then depending on what it is that I'm working on, I will start clearing. And I mean, I do an 1 hour session, and animals they can have a one hour session to of clearing to be done. So just recently, actually, two different cats. um, um, they I did a session on these two cats, two different families. Both cats, they were like super hungry and super, interested in food all of a sudden. So maybe they would have 5 or 6 different meals a day, which was like, very unusual. So in connecting with them and working with the body code mostly, then I find toxins, I find misalignments, I find sometimes pathogens, and the emotional side or the energetical kind of the clashes between the conscious mind and subconscious mind maybe less, but all these other things are pretty much the same.
Interesting. Last question, why do we incarnate?
Well, we have a soul that is on a journey, right? That's the that's the purpose of the soul, right? There's a journey. There's lessons to be learned. There's things to find and all of that, and we incarnate because we need to move forward in some way. And if we ignore the messages, if we'll ignore the lessons, then we will have to come back and repeat what we've already been and done before. But yes, I believe we are here to learn. We are here to do good things for other people, for the world, to make everything where we are a better place.
Well, I understand why your clients love you so much because you're just like a big warm hug talking to you. And I understand why when they're in times of trouble, like the song Let It Be, when you find yourself in times of trouble, I can understand why they want to come talk to you and explore, okay, what's hidden underneath here that I have no clue how to fix and no awareness of even what it is. And they can come to you and you can excavate it and then clear it, kind of like an archaeologist, really, with especially when you're talking about ancient wounds that our ancestors had that have come down through the DNA for all of us. So thank you for the work that you're doing. I think you're fascinating and so lovely. And I understand why people are drawn to you. How can people learn more about you and your work?
Thank you for this really lovely, kind words. Untangled Healing is the place to find me, and I really seriously invite conversations, because I also believe that every person you meet has a piece of your puzzle. So maybe you have something to learn from me, maybe I have something to learn from you. But let's connect. Let's have a conversation.
Yeah, beautifully said. All right, everybody, you're going to want to replay this one. I'm gonna replay it because there's a lot in here that I'm gonna need to hear again to let it kind of percolate in my brain because some of it was above my pay grade, but I think I can get it. In the meantime, sending you lots of love from Sweet Home, Alabama, mwah, and from Einav in England. We'll see you next time. Bye, everybody. To enhance your spiritual journey, click on one of the videos below and remember to subscribe, leave a comment, and share with your family and friends.